Okay, today we're starting on Unit 1, Project 3, and this one's going to be a little bit different than the two we've done before. So I'm going to just go ahead here and I'm going to right-click on this, open link in new tab. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to, again, open this one right here, okay? Just give me where we're at. Okay, and we have this open right here. We're gonna do one more thing back in the book here. In the book, the other thing we're gonna do, or in Canvas Classroom, is we're gonna go ahead and open the textbook again. And we're gonna scroll down until we find this assignment. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this scroll bar right here. And it's gonna scroll down until I find this assignment, okay? Okay, now remember to always read this section right here. This one here is talking about identifying wants and needs. Needs, things that are essential regardless of your financial status. Wants, these are things you might wish to have, but not having them doesn't threaten your existence. Video games, smartphones, vacations, all those fit into that category. In many cases, you'll decide what you need and want based on your spending values. And your spending values are often influenced by your family, your friends, your beliefs, and just culture. What you see is normal for people around you to be doing. And these things will influence your spending habits. Okay. So I do want you to read that. Come down here now. I'm gonna scroll this over a little bit. Doing this on purpose so you guys can see exactly how I'm doing all this stuff. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and it says refer to content format column 3. We're not going to do this yet, so don't worry about that yet. If you did it right now, it wouldn't be a big deal. Okay, key in the data to your spreadsheet as shown. Okay, so we're going to put in the data. So I'm going to come over here to up here. Now on this one, make sure your cursor is in this cell when we start this, not outside. It doesn't work. It has to be here. So I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, and I'm simply dragging all the way down to here. And then I'm going to release, and I'm going to copy. Over here, I can do it this way, right click, copy. I could have also pressed Control C. It wouldn't have mattered, okay? So now I'm going to come over here to our spreadsheet, and where that came from was right here when you pop this out, okay? Just so you know where I'm at. Come over here to this, and I'm going to paste that in, Control V. Okay, a couple of things happened here when I copied this in. If it didn't happen to you, that's fine. But do watch anyways, because some of the skills that I'm showing we'll use a lot. The first one is, for whatever reason, I put this in at row number 2. And when I talk about rows, this is I'm talking about rows in the spreadsheet. Okay, so now I'm going to start by telling you what a spreadsheet is. Obviously, this is a spreadsheet, but that's not very useful. First, I'm going to give you the technical definition. A spreadsheet is a tool that allows us to store and manipulate information in a table. And a table simply means information organized in columns and rows. So, as an example, in B4, we have right now the word gas. I believe that's actually wrong. But we always save a letter first. So this is cell C2 or Charlie 2. Okay. And so that's how we identify them. And so a table simply organizes information in columns and rows. Where a column and row intersect, like right there, is a cell. A cell is where a column and row intersect. These things are on the test. So this cell would be D6, delta 6. And we always save a letter first. So we want to make some changes here at this point. The first thing I want to do is get rid of row number 1 because stuff's in the wrong place. Click there. Now I'm going to right click. Remember to right click. You'll use the Alt key on your keyboard. Come down here to delete row. Next, these 3 items are actually in the wrong place. So if you get things in the wrong place, I sometimes see the students doing this before I can stop them. I see them erasing and retyping everything. Do not do that. It's like one word, that's fine. But if it's more than that, no. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move my cursor to the center of cell A1. Note when I say the center, the tip of the cursor is in the center of the cell. I always get kids trying to get right on the edges, which is like the one place not to be. I want you in the center of the cell. Press and hold the left mouse button down, drag over to the center of Charlie 1 and release. Now you see that this is selected. There's a distinction between selected and highlighted. I want to make sure we use the word selected. So these 3 cells are selected. Now we're going to move to the edge. When I move to the edge, you see it turned into an open hand. When it's an open hand, you're going to press and hold the left mouse button down. It's going to move that to where you want it to be. And you can see that dotted outline. I'm now moved over one set of cells. I'm going to release the left mouse button. Now it's where I want it to be. Okay. Couple more things I need to do. I need to adjust the column width here. So I'm going to go ahead and move my cursor between these 2 columns. And you see that when I did that, it turned to that 2-pointed arrow. When it does that, I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button and drag it to where I need it to be. Another way of adjusting column width is, again, move between the 2 and go ahead and double click. Okay, that's another way of doing this. And we're going to go ahead and do that right here. And we're going to do that right here. Okay, now we're going to go through and we need to fill in the cost column. Now, if you're at a desk at a keyboard that has a number pad on the right, this is much easier. Use the number pad on the right and to move down, hit the enter. I'm going to go ahead and do some stuff right here because I want to have all of this on my screen at the same time. So here, is this the right one? Yes. I'm going to scroll down until I see this image here. Okay. And like I said, I'm going to move that over a tiny bit so I can actually see it. Scroll that up to where I'm there. Good. Most of you know at this point what I am doing. I'm basically just resizing a couple of things on my desktop so that I can see these and what I'm working on. Okay, get back over to here. And I am doing this on purpose because I want you guys to see if you're doing this with one screen. This is why I always tell you guys to use your Chromebook to do this stuff, because frankly, doing this all on one screen is a bit harder. But I know some of you are doing this at home where you only have one screen to work with. And that's why I'm doing it this way. If you're wondering why on earth I'm doing this such a hard way. Okay, don't type in the $sign. Don't type in 0.00. If it's 0.50, you'll just type in 0.5. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to type in 10, enter, 20, enter, 8, enter, 3.5, enter, and where am I at? Oops, somewhere I got that wrong. Okay, I'll just tell you the 8 didn't take. 20, enter, 8, enter, 3.5, enter. Good. A smoothie was 4.5, 4.5, enter. 75, 75, enter, 50. Hit enter. You saw that I hit enter an extra time there to get down to that next row. 5, enter, 45, enter, 4, 12, and 20. I went too far. So to go back up, I did use the arrow pad on the keyboard just to let you know because I accidentally went down one too many. Okay. Let's come down here to movie ticket. Where on earth is movie ticket? Monster energy drink. I did those. Oh, there it is. Movie ticket. Okay, I was just having trouble seeing where I was at. It was all sort of lost track of what I was doing there. Movie ticket. 10, 5.5, 7.5. The ticket, no, somewhere I got off. By the way, this does happen, and there's no way around it. Okay, 10, 5, 4.75, 3.5, 12.5. That was right. Okay, so for some weird reason, I thought I got off by 1. Okay, and I ticket the football game was 5. Makes more sense. And gas was 23. I'm done further. So I'm going to come over to here. No. Come back. Come back. There we go. Okay. And over here on this side, just so we see where I'm at, I'm at car insurance payment. Where am I? There. 55. 5, 9, 5.75, and 49.50. Okay, so we've got that part done. I will tell you at this point, I'm going to put them back together because, as I'm sure you see, it's kind of hard to work this way. There we go. And there we go. Good. So now we've got all of our data entered. Great. Let's go back and look at the next step in the instructions. Okay, I'm going to scroll up. And you should have your own instructions open. Don't be relying on my little window here. Okay, scroll up some more. Okay, key in the data as shown. Give me just one moment. Okay, at this point, we can go ahead and show you what that formatting as currency actually did. The reason we did it this way is because, quite simply, students sometimes find it confusing when it's auto formatting while they're typing. So I'm going to click directly on the C, and that's going to select all of column C. Any of these will select everything in the column or the row. Okay, I'm going to click directly on the C, selecting all of column C. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click on the $sign. If you don't have that $sign, you're going to go to Format, Number, and you're going to find Currency, and that's where you'll click. Okay, just to let you know if you didn't have the $sign. I'm going to come over here and click on that $sign. Now, you notice that some of this is cut off. Again, we're just going to automatically adjust the width of the column. I did that on purpose because I wanted you to see what it looks like if that isn't right. Okay, the book says to center align this column. Do not do that. I'm going to tell you why we don't do that. I've already talked to you about the SEC's writing guide, the Securities and Exchange Commission's writing guide, but they've produced a book which basically tells us how to write in a business environment, and they say don't do that. The reason they say don't do that now, so the reason we don't do it because we're told not to. Why are we told not to? Because when we're looking at money, we're usually looking for things like the tens columns, and if you would center aligned this, it just gets a little bit harder to see that 10 column. This one isn't that bad because everything is either the ones or the tens column, but sometimes when you get out there a little ways, it starts getting a lot harder. So the SEC simply tells us money is to be, not left aligned, that's for sure, right aligned. It's one of the few things we do right aligned. Now we can center the word cost. So I'll click on the word cost and I'll come over here and center align that. And that looks okay. Okay, what's the next thing they tell us to do in the book? Okay, format C is currency. We already did that. Key in the data. We did that. Okay, row 1, column A, format text as bold. Okay, in all of row 1 and all of column A. This is going to be super easy. First, I'm going to click right here, and that selected all of row 1 by clicking on the number 1 right there. And I'm going to make it bold. Then I'm going to click on this one. That selected all of column A. Now here, because that's already been selected, I'm going to actually have to uncheck and then recheck it. So I had to click on it twice. But now you can see that all of row 1 and all of column A are bold. Okay, let's go to the next step. Okay, use the formula and type in this formula. So I'm going to show you 3 ways to do this. One of them only works. It'll work all of the time. Well, 2 of them will work all the time. One of them will work some of the time. We're going to start with the way they said to do it in the book. Okay, so we're going to come over here and we're going to put in a formula. And if formulas and functions are basically math operations, and they always start with an equal sign. Okay, so whatever you're doing here, you start with an equal sign. Equals, and then we're going to type in sum, S-U-M. We know we're going to add stuff up, open parenthesis. And the open parenthesis is a shifted character above the 9. And then we're going to go ahead and type in C2, Charlie 2, and you can see that it now highlighted, this time it did, it highlighted that cell so you can see where you're at, colon. And the colon key is to the right of the letter L. It's a shifted character. Colon C8. C8. Close parenthesis, and that was a shifted 0, enter. And there we've got a number. By the way, I still need to make this a little bit wider again. Okay, so there we've got that one. Now I'm going to show you the way that I do it. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, equals, open parenthesis. Then I'm going to go select the cells that I want to act on. On this one, it's really easy because they're all next to each other. So I'm going to come right here, press and hold the left mouse button, drag down to this one, and you see that it's typed that in for me already. Okay, then I'll just hit enter. And there we go. That's the other way of doing it. Now, the third way of doing it. And this one generally works, kind of. It doesn't always work. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that. Equals. It's given me a suggestion right here of what it thinks I probably want to do based on the fact that I'm sort of in the middle of a column. And in this case, that happens to be right. I'm going to click on that. Okay. And we're going to come right here and we're going to do the same thing. Equals. And I'll do it the way I normally do it. SUM, open parenthesis. And I'm going to come right here and just going to select cells that I want to act on and enter. So those are three different ways of putting that math formula of equals sum. We're going to add things up. What are we going to add up? We're going to add up everything from C10, you put in a C10, through, and that's the colon, C14. And that's what we have up here. So that's the formula we used, a similar formula in all of these. Okay, so we've got that part done. Let's go back to our textbook. Okay, so we did that. We did 9, we did 10, we did 11. The next thing it wants us to do is format those cells as bold and fill the color with yellow. So let's go ahead and do that. Come back up here. Yep. I'm going to go to those cells right there, the ones we put the formula in, by the way, just to make it easy for you to know which ones are sending us to. We're going to make that bold, and we're going to go to the paint bucket right here, and it says fill color. We're going to click on that, and we're going to click on yellow. We're going to do the same thing here. Okay. Yellow and bold. It really doesn't matter what order you do it in. Select those two, bold and yellow. And if you're not clear what I'm doing when I'm selecting, I am pushing the left mouse button down, I'm holding it down and dragging over the other cell and then releasing. Remember, you need to be in the middle of the cell when you do that. If you're on the edges, other things will happen. Okay, and that also is bold, and that is yellow. Good. So we have finished that step. And I just clicked over here somewhere, and that made, if you look up here, you'll see something that looks like a little cloud. That's the document status. And it's going to save to the drive when you make a change. And that's why I make it a habit just to click somewhere when I'm in Google Sheets. Okay, let's go back to the instructions. Okay, we did that one. Okay, this one here, 13. What they want us to do is to identify whether or not we consider these to be expenses, these expenses to be needs or wants. Because some things we simply want. Let's go back to this. And some things we might need. I mean, I'm going to be honest, popcorn and candy and a movie ticket, that's a want. If you're pinching pennies, that's not what you need. So I'm going to come through here. Well, I'm going to do something different here that they don't do in the book, and I do want to show it to you. But first, I just want to make sure you see that you can just type it in. Oops. W-A-N-T, want. Gas, I'm going to put that in as a want, and I'll explain why later. You might consider it a need, that's fine. Laser tag, certainly a want. Candy, want. Winter coat, that's probably a need, right? Okay, so we've got some other stuff here, but I want to show you a different way of doing this. What we're going to do is create a drop list. We're going to and you'll understand what I'm talking about when we get it done. So I want you to click directly on the letter D, or clicking directly on the letter D would have worked well. I say that simply because for classes, I want to make sure people understand that I want that pointer inside the cell, not just on an edge, but inside the cell. Good. Now I want you to click on Data. I want you to come down here to Data Validation. Okay. From Data Validation, we're going to come over here where it says List from a Range, and we're going to type in List of Items. And I'm going to type in Want, comma, Need. You notice I didn't leave a space there, but I did put in the comma. Some people forgot to put in the comma. This will not work correctly if you don't put in that comma. The words are separated by that comma. Now I'm going to click on Save. Okay, Now, what am I going to do here? I'm going to click on that little drop arrow. And yeah, I remember I said that was a want. Um, okay, and so you do see the red one here that says it's an error. Okay, you can ignore that, or let's get rid of that. I want to show you how to get rid of the data validation on a cell. So that's why I'm purposely going to do it and get rid of that. Okay, first I'll make that a little bit wider so both words are visible. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that cell. I want to remove the data validation in order to get rid of this error. I'm going to click on data, data validation, remove validation. And now that error is gone, okay? Just letting you know how we do that, okay? Now let's simply go through and we're going to identify whether or not we consider them a want or a need. And so you need to go through and do this for yourself. And I'll explain why we did it this way in a few moments. So go through and do your own wants and needs. I'm going to pause here. Okay, you probably haven't identified the same things to be wants and needs as I did, and that's okay. The reason I say that's okay is we're going to deal with that in just a moment. The next thing, so you've identified all of the items as wants and needs. Then we're going to go ahead and merge cells A32 to D32. So I'm going to come back to my spreadsheet here. I'm going to scroll down here to A32. Okay, right here. I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, and I'm going to select all the way to the center of D32, just like that. We want to turn all of these into one cell. We want to combine them or merge them into a single cell. And that is this tool right here. When I floated over it just right, you saw it said merge cells. And you see like a box of two arrows pointing at each other. Go ahead and click on that. And now, if you were to notice, that now looks like it's one cell because it is one cell. Let's go ahead and go to the next question, and I'll explain why I basically identified these the way I did. You might do this differently, okay? In these cells, type 2 or 3 sentences on how your values influenced whether you categorize certain items as wants or needs. We also need the wrap text first, okay? So we're going to do things when we go back to the spreadsheet. We're going to do this step right here, apply the wrap text, and then we're going to type in our sentences. So I'm going to come back over here to our spreadsheet, make sure that cell is selected, the one we just merged. I'm going to go to Format, Wrapping, Wrap, and I'll show what that's going to do in just a moment. Okay, so after I typed it in, and I'll tell you why I answered the way I did, okay? Most of these were wants. I answered the questions as if I were a college student. When I was in the college, the VA had paid my tuition, but they didn't provide me much spending money. With this in mind, I had to cut costs in a lot of areas. And so, of things that I considered to be a need, I certainly considered school supplies to be a need, okay? Socks. If you needed socks, you needed socks, okay? And so I put that in. Also, winter coat, probably a must have, and jeans. Maybe this person doesn't have any pants that look presentable. And for doing things like going to interviews and stuff, you need to have presentable looking clothing. And so that can become a need. Most of the rest of these I call a want. Quite simply, if you're in college and money's a concern, one of the first places to cut costs is the car. Yeah, a car is basically an extremely expensive thing for a college student to have. And so how can you live without it? Well, most of the time you don't really need it. If you live on campus, what you need is there. You can say, well, the bookstore is more expensive. Is it really that much more expensive compared to the cost of a car? No, it's not. And so that's a place you can really cut costs. Even if you live off campus, most people live off campus, live close enough to bicycle to campus, or many of them walk. So these are things to keep in mind when it comes to places where you can cut your costs. Okay, so let's go back and look at the instructions. I'm 90% sure we're just about done. Yeah, at this point, you can go ahead and turn that in. You are finished with project 3.